A down economy and the rising price of gold. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Pennsylvania State Representative Frank Farry. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So with those two entities, a down economy, rising price of gold, you say this can lead to some unintended consequences and potentially lead to some crime when it relates to gold and it relates to theft. Talk to us about what's happening, and in particular, a case in your own district.
Sure. I was contacted by a woman who lives in my district, and her granddaughter has drug addiction problems and essentially had stolen her grandmother's jewelry. The grandmother tracked him down to a pawn shop, but under the current law, the pawn shop actually had already melted down her jewelry because they can melt it down within 5 days of purchasing it. So by the time the grandmother actually got to the pawn shop, the jewelry was already melted down. She lost some family heirlooms, and she talked to me about the concerns with what the current law is. So I've written legislation that'll actually basically tighten up the precious metals laws in Pennsylvania.
So this is just one example that has been circulating in the news, an example that you've heard personally. This was a case where it was a family member, but there have been other instances where there have been burglaries and other cases where precious metals and gold have been stolen.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of burglary rings actually where they're targeting these precious metals. They're very easy to conceal in your pocket when you burglarize somebody's house, and they actually have high value right now with the high gold prices. So basically what my legislation does is it requires the precious metal dealer who purchases these items to take a passport quality photograph of the person selling the items to them, and also to take at least 2 photographs of the items being sold so that you can see even if there's like an insignia or inscription on a ring or something of that nature. And it also enhances the documentation. Right now they can just write on their pawn slip that they bought a 14-karat gold ring, and it can be as indescript as that. And we require much greater description plus the actual photographs. We're also moving the meltdown period from 5 days to 10 days, and we actually have a victim's right component of the bill where the victims of these crimes will actually be empowered to review pawn shop records once authorized by law enforcement. So if law enforcement are busy handling other matters, this actually allows the victim to go pawn shop to pawn shop and hopefully find their items and then ultimately recover them.
Does this just apply to pawn shops, or is this to other establishments? We've heard advertisements for establishments that would pay you money for your gold and other items.
Yeah, it would be anybody that's purchasing precious metals. So any sort of storefront, pawn shop, whatever it may be. And a lot of the pawn shops want to be reputable with this. But if you have 1 or 2 unscrupulous ones, that's essentially all you need. Another aspect to the bill, too, is require anybody under the age of 18 to have a parent or guardian with them before they sell precious metals, because one would wonder why a 16 or 17-year-old's, selling a gold necklace, if you will.
So with this additional level of documentation, would this put an undue burden on establishments, on businesses that are legitimately trying to do business?
I wouldn't think so, because with the technology and digital cameras and the like, they're already required to have degrees of record keeping. We're just actually trying to tighten that up. And the reputable dealers, quite frankly, wouldn't be the ones that would be wanting to buy, this jewelry from burglary rings or, anybody that's involved in drug activity or whatever it may be. So I don't think it increases the burden. I think, the real problematic areas are the unscrupulous dealers who are just in it to make a fast buck themselves.
You also want to give additional authority to the Attorney General. What authority would this bill give?
It actually expands their ability, so we don't necessarily have to legislate all the aspects of this. So the Attorney General will actually have greater oversight over the precious metals market, and they can, as these problems evolve, instead of us having to go through the full legislative process, they're actually able to regulate themselves and have some better oversight.
And you've already worked to introduce this bill at this point, but we just have a short time left. But when it comes to this bill, why do you think that this is important to introduce, particularly at this time?
Sure. I mean, we're seeing a rise in burglaries. We're seeing the rise in gold prices, which makes that a very appealing target. And the victims need to be protected here. I mean, these people are victims of crimes.
Thanks for being with us.
Sure, thank you.
We've been talking with Pennsylvania State Representative Frank Farry. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Newsmakers.